Hello, this is Cynthia Sumner from Healing Leaf, owner and founder of Healing Leaf, and thank you so much for joining me. Today we're going to talk about mouth health. And I want to start off by sharing a story. I'm going to share a story that happened to me. I really can identify when people share personal stories, so I like to do that to help teach. So I've been in the nutrition field for years, over 10 years, and I started having this prompting or this feeling or this thought that I felt was inspired that I needed to start studying teeth and mouth health. And I had known from other studies that what's going on in my mouth is a reflection of my body, and I knew it was important to understand that, but didn't really see why it would be important to study any further. But had the feeling I needed to and thought, okay, I'll do that, and never did. A year went by. I had another feeling I needed to do it, and more time went by. And finally, what usually happens when you have a feeling that you should do something is sometimes it will come into your life without you wanting it to in some inadvertently way, or I don't think that's the word, in some sort of way. So I started having a toothache. Now, I hadn't had teeth problems for years, ever since I had changed my diet and getting my body exercising, getting things circulating helps carry the waste away from your mouth, keeps bringing nutrition to the teeth. And so I thought, well, why do I have a toothache? I eat so good. And was interesting the things that I learned. So, first of all, it was an experience that led me to understand how much stress affects us, and that it just confirmed that our emotions affect our body physically, which I had already known. I had many really cool experiences, firsthand experiences teaching me that, and this was just yet another one to confirm that what we're feeling and what's going on in our life affects us physically. So I kind of ignored it and pushed it to the side. I didn't want to go to the dentist because I am actually afraid of the dentist, but I would if I needed to. So it was one of those things where I still was open to going. So I got to the point where I knew I needed to do something because the tooth was hurting long enough. A couple months had gone by, and I just had this feeling to try and heal your tooth on your own and try and heal it naturally. And the feeling for me, so I'm a very spiritual person, it felt like it was a prompting from my higher power for for me to learn. And of course, I have faith in the body, and I don't have fear anymore. I grew up for years fearing every pain I had, but with the education and the experience, I have learned that our body is very powerful. And so I decided to go ahead and do it, and I followed inspiration. I had all of these thoughts of what I should do and how to do it. And it's a long story, and I don't have time to share every detail here, but to make a long story short, several times throughout, it took me a year to heal it. I ended up calling a dentist after a couple of months because I was going out of town. I was going to Hawaii with my husband to teach some classes, and then it was a trip for him and I. We hadn't been on a trip alone like that ever and hadn't been on a trip for a long time. So I thought, I'm willing to heal my tooth naturally, but it would ruin the trip if I had a toothache, if I was in pain. And so I called a dentist after hours because I was in a lot of pain. He said, oh, you need the tooth removed like tonight, or you need a root canal, one or the other. And so I made an appointment, and as I went to bed, I just had a feeling, it's fine if you do, but I can help you heal it, and you can heal it. I didn't know of anybody healing teeth. This is one thing that I had searched a little bit, trying to find information on teeth, and there's some good information, but just still felt like it's not an area that there's a ton of information. So I was going on faith. I decided, so my feeling was, okay, well, I need to be able to feel good while I'm on this trip, and I have this feeling like everything will be fine. Well, the cool thing is I was led to know what to put on my tooth for the pain and to clean it out. It was infected. I had swollen glands. You have to be careful. And I have to state that if you decide to use any of this information, I'm not responsible in any way. It's your own free will and choice. I'm saying what worked for me, but I'm not diagnosing. I'm not prescribing. I'm not saying will work for you. This is just an experience that I went through and that worked for me. So my tooth didn't hurt one time during the trip. We enjoyed the trip. It was one of the funnest times in our lives. And when I got back, the next day my tooth started hurting. So I thought, okay, there's confirmation. I was blessed to be able to go on that trip, and now it's time to work on my tooth. I kept getting this feeling. It's going to take a year. Be patient. And so it was really bad. So another time in another training, I can share more of the details. I learned, but one of the most important things I wanted to share today is that I learned right away is when I was stressed, my tooth hurt. When I took a deep breath and I calmed down and I cleared my mind and I regained my perspective, the throbbing went away. And it was like clockwork, like every time. When I was stressed, my tooth hurt. When I calmed down, it stopped hurting. It was like a little gauge for me to say, see how much stress really affects your body? It's affecting us even more than we know, way more than we know. So that was the first lesson to be learned. And anytime I'm really stressed, I stop myself and think, okay, I'm hurting my physical body, not only emotionally, but I'm hurting my physical body when I'm stressed out. And I don't have this gauge anymore. My tooth doesn't hurt anymore. But I learned how much it really does affect us during that time. So some things that I did was I did oil pulling. If you haven't ever heard of that, you can Google oil pulling online. So you do take like a tablespoon of coconut oil, or you can do grapeseed oil or olive oil, but I like coconut oil the best. In the morning, before you even brush your teeth, you do a tablespoon of the oil, swish it around in your mouth. Coconut oil warms up really fast and just becomes liquid. And leave it in there for at least 10 minutes or 2 minutes if you don't have 10 minutes, but it's best if you leave it in for longer. And it literally pulls the infection out of your teeth. It also draws toxins to the mouth from the bloodstream, and you can spit it out. So you don't want to swallow it because it is full of the toxins. So that's something that took the pain away very quickly, and I did that a couple of times a day. And I also made sure I took in high amounts of coconut, or I'm looking at my list and I looked at coconut oil. The next one, it put in high amounts of organic plant-based minerals. And so I got what's called Organa Mineral Drink from a Whole Foods store, and there's many other liquid mineral drinks. You can also find supplements and sea salt powder, or like the sea salt you can put in your, or other powdered plant-based minerals. So that's really important to be intaking. So I made sure I did a lot of that. I did cinnamon essential oil. That helped take the pain away. And I also did the On Guard doTERRA essential oil that helped to kill the germs and numb it. So that helped a lot. I used lemongrass, which supports the teeth, and just rub that on my neck and my wrists and on my jaw, and it just absorbs right into your bloodstream. You can also do a drop in some water and drink it, or swish it in your mouth. And what really helped the most with the pain was cayenne tincture. So it was in the liquid form, the cayenne pepper, and it would burn. So I would just drop it right on my tooth. My tooth actually had a crack in it at the bottom. And so I had to be careful because easily things could get in there and stop it from being able to heal, but it also had an opening to put in good. So I would drop the cayenne tincture and it would burn really bad because it was hot, but then it would numb it and it would also clean it out for me. So I would brush really good, and then I used a water pick with the On Guard, a drop of On Guard in the water pick, and spray it out really good. And sometimes I would swish with colloidal silver, and I don't use a lot of that because that kills the good bacteria and the bad bacteria, but sometimes it is helpful to use you don't want to use it often, just in emergencies. It's really good for infected eyes as well, just a little side note. So use it sparingly, but colloidal silver is very good to have on hand. The cayenne, I mostly use that. And so after I had it all cleaned out, then I had made a little pack that I could put on. And honestly, I said a little prayer, and these are the thoughts that came to my mind. So I used powdered complete bone and tissue, or you can use like a comfrey powder. So complete bone and tissue comes from Dr. Christopher's formulas. So you can get the powdered comfrey from anywhere, or you can order the complete bone and tissue. And then I did some Redmond's clay, and that helped hold the whole thing together so I could press it on my tooth. What was the other thing? Oh, alfalfa powder. So those were the 3 powders that I used. And then I did the complete bone and tissue oil, or you could do some coconut oil or some olive oil, just a little bit, and stir it up till it's mixed up together, but it's kind of like a moldable. And I would just press it down in the crack of my tooth and around my tooth. And it stayed there. And I was mostly drinking green smoothies, fresh juice, and and water and herbal teas. That's pretty much what I lived on for quite a while, because I needed to clean the inside out and keep my food simple so that my body could work on the tooth. So I know some of you by now are thinking, is it really worth it? Like, just go to the dentist, have it pulled out or have it fixed. But for me, it was something that I needed to go through. I learned so much, and I'm so grateful that there were several times where the pain was bad enough that I was like, I am going to the dentist. I don't care. And then I would keep getting a feeling like, I'll tell you what to do. You'll be okay. So literally in the year, I took Tylenol, and I only took it 3 times. And it was when I was in such bad pain, I just needed to sleep. But other than that, I use all my natural remedies for the pain. And in that situation that I took Tylenol, I took it because I was scared, because it was a new thing that I was doing. I didn't know anybody else that had done it. I could have used my natural remedies for the pain, because I had that much pain many, many other times, and was able to use the natural remedies to numb it and feel better. So it was part of my learning. So I would press that on there, and I was really careful to make sure to keep it clean. That's like the main point, is to keep it clean so then your body can heal it. So I also took, once a week I would have a breakout of infection. I would get a fever, my glands were swollen, I would have a really bad headache, and sometimes I would have a breakout of a cold sore, and there was actual infection coming out of my tooth. So this can be really dangerous. People can die from an infection like this if you don't know what you're doing. So if you're listening and you're wanting to do something like this, just remember, really be prayerful and make sure you know what you're doing. And if it's just a little cavity and there's no infection, it's not as big a deal. But if there's an infection, you want to be really careful. I also had 2 small cavities that had shown up on the top of my mouth. So the root canal, the one that needed a root canal, was on the bottom, the infected one. And then there's 2 cavities on the top that hurt. Every time my bottom tooth hurt, my 2 top teeth hurt. And they are completely healed. I never had any work done on them. They healed as well as my bottom tooth. The other thing I did is I switched with sea salt water. I drank chlorophyll. Oh, I did the echinacea and golden seal every hour when I had the breakout with the infection. That's an immune booster. And so that's what I did in place of an antibiotic. And then I turned my head upside down daily, because the blood flow up to the mouth will help carry out the infection and bring nutrients to the mouth. And then I did a lot of emotional work, writing down emotions that came up when I was in the pain, and visualization. I recorded myself talking about it, how strong my tooth is and how capable my body is, and talking as if it was healed, and I listened to it with music. And so picturing it and visualization was huge. I also used Acceptic, which is a bacteria killer, and that's from Dr. Christopher's. I did infection formula from him and the garlic immune. So these things I kind of switched off with. And I also had chiropractic work done to make sure my body was aligned so that things could flow, so nutrition could get to where it needed to be. So this went on for almost a year, and just off and on I could tell it was getting better and better. And I had gone to a holistic dentist who he took an x-ray, and he's like, we got to take this out like today. So I was kind of bummed because I thought, oh, this is a holistic dentist. He's going to be all supportive for what I'm doing, and talk to some other professionals and experts that I thought would support me. And they were like, you got to just have the tooth pulled. But every time I just had this feeling like your body is capable. This is something you need to learn, and you can help other people with it. So even if it's information I need, if there's ever like a natural disaster and people can't get to a dentist, then I'll know what the pain is like and I'll know what to do. I'm not saying don't go to the dentist. My main point is that your body is powerful and that the condition going on within is what causes these teeth issues. So I got to the point where I learned so much, and it took a lot of time. And literally almost to the day of a year, my tooth stopped hurting. It's been 6 months now. It hasn't hurt once. It hasn't been infected once. It's growing back in. I went back to the holistic dentist just a few weeks ago, and he was just floored. It shows in the x-ray that all the bacteria is gone and that my roots are regenerating. So a pretty cool thing. I'd never heard of anybody else doing it. Totally went on faith, prayed, and just asked for, okay, what is it that I need to put on my tooth? What is it that I need to do? What is it that I need to learn? And there was some really amazing emotional issues that I needed to release and look at, and it was a pretty cool experience. So I want to share with you from Dr. Weston Price. After receiving his dental degree in 1893, he began his practice and his research. He began to note that the condition of the teeth was a fairly good indicator of overall health, and he decided he wanted to do some research. So I'm going to read from a book called Health is a Blessing by Stephen H. Horn. In there, he shares this about Dr. Price. So the effects of good nutrition. Here are a few of Dr. Price's findings. In an isolated part of the Swiss Alps, Dr. Price found about 2,000 people living primarily on whole rye bread and raw cow and goat milk from grazing animals. Cheese and butter were made from the summer milk to last the whole year. They also raised salad greens. The people drank water coming off the glaciers. They ate meat about once a week, only on Sundays. And the people had no physician, dentist, policeman, or jail. They just produced nearly everything they needed on their own. Price's work suggests that the only reason why we need these modern medical miracles is because we have abandoned the diet which kept the so-called primitive man in good health. Most of us, for example, accept tooth decay as a natural and inevitable process, which can only be halted by regular brushing, flossing, and cleaning the teeth. We also routinely submit to orthodontic work and wisdom teeth extraction. However, the primitive people Dr. Price studied never brushed their teeth, and yet they hardly had any cavities. Also, their wisdom teeth never impacted, and they had a perfect bite without braces. Dr. Price felt that all these dental problems were acquired diseases due to poor nutrition. But tooth decay is just the tip of the iceberg. Dr. Price regarded dental problems as just one of the signs of physical deterioration. So it goes on to tell more details about what he found, but what the details of it is that what's going on in our body, because our teeth are a part of our body, they're not separate. The roots are fed, through our bloodstream, the nutrition up to our teeth, and it really affects what happens with our jaw and with our teeth. And so recently, for example, to give more detail, the result of a 6-year study of the Chinese diet and disease patterns was published. It was reported to be the most comprehensive study ever undertaken on diet and health. This research suggested that Middle Kingdom's way of eating, rich in whole grains, vegetables, and fruits, sparing in animal products, is both extraordinarily nutritious and protective against major chronic diseases such as heart disease and cancer and teeth health. So hopefully this gives you an insight on why you should be healthy, why you should be eating healthy and exercising and keeping your blood flowing and keeping good nutrition going in. It affects us emotionally, it affects us physically, and it definitely affects our teeth. And there are things that you can do if you feel a little bit of an ache going on. Start swishing with coconut oil in the morning. Take a natural antibiotic and start giving your body the minerals, the vitamins and minerals that it needs. do some meditating and deep breathing and de-stressing because it's affecting us more than we think. And just know if you use any of these remedies or use any of this information from this call, it's by your own free will and choice. I'm just a nutritionist sharing information, not a doctor, and just want to make sure I state that. But we have a magnificent power in our body and in our mind, and it's very capable if we give it what it needs. So keep eating your greens, keep eating your healthy food, get out and exercise, and think positive. Be willing to forgive and be willing to still think happy and focus on the blessings that you do have in your life. Think positive and have a happy, healthy day, and we'll talk to you next week.